women have to deal with on a daily basis.
10 years on, and more than 200,000 testimonies later, Laura's campaign is still going strong. Her latest book, Fix the System, Not the Women, looks at tackling prejudice within 5 key institutions in our society. Morning to you, Laura.
Morning, Laura.
I'm going to ask you for an overview first, which is probably an awful thing to do in a way. Where do you think we are now relative to when you were inspired to start asking these questions and getting people to talk?
I think that the conversation has moved on significantly, partly very much due to the incredible courage of so many women and girls who have spoken out and so bravely shared their stories. But the system change, the institutional changes that we need to stop these things happening to another generation of girls haven't followed.
So when you say the conversation has changed, you're saying that's not a tangible thing. That's about what people are saying about it rather than what they're doing. Is that right?
I think it's important, though. It is tangible because it gives people the confidence to come forward. It shifts how normalised and acceptable these things in our culture are. So it's very important. It's part of the change we need to see. But what we need is for people in positions of power now to take systemic action that doesn't focus on women. Because so often we ask, well, what can women do to fix this? So often, even as women are dying, we're saying, well, what did she do wrong and what could the next woman do differently? We've seen that so much. In the last 18 months, we've seen police telling women, don't go out on your own after Sarah Everard's death. We've seen attack alarms handed out to women after Sabina Ness's death. Nobody stopped men in the local area to talk to them about not attacking women. We've seen people saying that Sarah Everard shouldn't have submitted to the arrest that was used to imprison her. And we've seen this sense of what could women do to just be that bit more careful, take the better route, don't wear the wrong skirt, cover your drinks, instead of saying enough. Women are dying. This isn't stopping it. We need to change the systems that are failing them.
You say the conversation has changed, but we were just chatting earlier. Almost the conversation's changed and the ability to talk about this has opened up and is more free. And I imagine people are not being recoiled at when they call something out as much.
Yeah.
But actually what they're talking about often is things that have gotten worse, become worse.
I think so. I mean, people like to say, well, you know, this isn't really a major problem anymore, but we just look at the evidence. We've had a recent Ofsted report that's found that 80% of schoolgirls say that sexual assault is common. They use the word normal to describe that happening at school. We have a parliament where 56 of our MPs are under investigation for sexual misconduct. That's not far off 1 in 10 of our elected representatives. We've got an MP watching porn in Parliament. We've got this system issue that's constantly being explained away to us as bad apples. The Business Secretary used that term to describe 56 MPs, which really underplays the problem to call that bad apples.
So what needs to be done next? I mean, you have the conversation. It's the 10th anniversary of Everyday Sexism campaign. To what end? You know, you record these.
Yeah.
You say this is happening. We tell you, women tell you, men will tell you of experiences of the women in their lives. But to what end?
Yes. So up until this point, what we've done is we've taken the stories into people who have the position to change things. So we took the stories from girls who were being assaulted at school, we took them into Parliament, we showed them to MPs and ministers, and alongside other great women's organisations, persuaded them to change the curriculum, to put sexual consent and healthy relationships on the curriculum. So we've done things like that. We've used the testimonies that came from women on buses and trains to train British Transport Police to change how they were tackling sexual offences. What I think we need now is more of a joined-up approach, not to see these as isolated incidents and kind of little individual solutions, but to recognise that actually, if we're in a country where just 1.4% of rapes reported to the police result in a charge or summons, that is a system that is utterly failing women. And it's not just bad apples, as we're so often fobbed off and told. 2,000 Met police officers have been accused of sexual misconduct in a 4-year period up to 2020 alone. This is a systemic problem. We need root and branch change, and that can only come when those in positions of power recognise there is institutional misogyny at play here.
Can I go back, Laura, to one of the things you're talking about, and the idea of trying to get institutions to think differently is probably the hardest of all things, isn't it? Because, you know, forever people have tried to change for different reasons. Yeah. Just go back to a couple of things you were saying before about those messages. You were saying about women being advised by possibly people who love them, who care for them,
Yeah.
they're going out and they say, wear a big coat, you know, take something with you, an alarm,
Yes.
because they care, because that is coming from a place of, and I'm painting this if it's a man to a woman, you know, a father or a brother or a friend saying that to someone they know who's a woman. Now, to what extent are they contributing to the problem by doing something that is straightforward, wanting to know someone is safe? Because you often hear these conversations,
You do.
and you think it's clearly not right that any woman should be required, feel the need to take all those precautions. But what do you say as a man? What do you say?
So I understand that comes, of course, it comes from a position of care.
And to be honest, I'm painting it as a man to a woman. It could be a mother saying it to their daughter.
Absolutely.
That's the
and
point.
I know that it's well-meaning, but actually, if we really look at that, what that shows is that as a society, we're willing to start from a point of accepting that women as a whole should be constraining their lives, doing things differently, as a response to a small number of men committing acts of violence. But what we'd never be prepared to accept is the idea that all men should be constrained in the same way. So when police told women, you know, don't go out alone, someone's disappeared, someone's been attacked, people kind of went, well, it's just common sense, isn't it? As you're saying, we just want you to be safe. But imagine if we'd said, well, actually, men in Clapham need to go out in pairs until we catch this guy because one of them's attacking women and we don't know who it is. That would have been uproar, wouldn't it? How dare you, you know, constrain all men in this way? We talk about women-only train carriages often in that same way. It's just a sensible precaution. It just protects women. But if we said we need to put all the men in one carriage of the train because actually 85,000 women a year are being raped, by the vast majority of them by men. 1.6 million women are experiencing abuse a year. 500,000 are sexually assaulted. We need the men in one train carriage till we sort this out. People would say that's outrageous. So we start from this point of acting as if male violence is inevitable, and it's women's job to somehow put their lives smaller and smaller, carry their keys between their fingers, don't wear heels so you can run, don't wear a short skirt, take the right kind of cab, keep your hand over your drink, text each other when you get home safely. And at what point do we stop all that and say it's not on women to fix this, it's on the systems to tackle it?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we keep on talking about, which is a shame, but